Hello, are you my peer? These days, it might be easy for players to clear the Street Fighter II series, but actually, when playing it in arcades back in the day, it was quite difficult. There were actually quite a few ridiculous central processing unit advantages secretly added in to fool the players. This time, I'm going to take a look at the central processing unit performance in the Street Fighter II series. Of course, I still can't one coin clear Super Street Fighter II Turbo. Let's start with the earliest version of Street Fighter II World Warrior. Even if you set it to the highest difficulty, it's a version where beating the central processing unit is easy. But those Capcom guys messed around with the hitboxes just for the central processing unit. As you probably know, when I review characters, the most important thing I consider is their hitboxes and attack range. I think viewers would agree with me on this point. Did you notice anything strange here? Dalsim's hurtbox suddenly disappears, and he ends up counterattacking. Even if the timing was late, Dalsim would have no choice but to guard, but instead he naturally erases his hurtbox and hits back. So I checked to see if Dalsim's sliding move normally removes his hurtbox. The blue box is the hurt box, and it's present from the very first frame. As soon as Guile, who's crouching above, extends his attack hitbox, it comes out immediately. Even after checking the frames where the attack hitbox is active, it still doesn't hit. He was basically cheating by completely changing the hitbox. Just in case, I tried connecting EP to test it, but the hurtbox never disappears like it does for the central processing unit. Is this something that only happens to Dalsim? Even Chun-Li from World Warrior, known for her strong performance, became a tough opponent who cheats with her hitbox. It's this part right here. Did you guys notice it? Even though he's supposed to be in a state where he should guard one more time, he shamelessly jumps after erasing his hurtbox. Even if you check Ryu's hitbox, it's definitely within range. If it was just dodging, it could be considered cute, but ignoring the opponent's attack and trying to counterattack instead is just too much. Chun-Li's crouching heavy kick is a standard move with a large hurtbox. It's not for nothing that we used to get hit by central processing unit Chun-Li's crouching heavy kick. If the player can't keep the guard direction straight, this is what happens. In other words, this means that the central processing unit has a system that lets it erase its own hurtbox at will, no matter which character it's using. Machines may not lie, but they can still cheat. The reason Central Processing Unit Ken would use Shoryuken like crazy was actually a bait. It's a tactic you could never use in a real match, but it was a setup that took advantage of the Central Processing Unit's hitbox cheating system. Distance doesn't matter, and it's confirmed that Ken is left defenseless. Even though he used crouching heavy kick first, it's the player who ends up getting knocked down. While fighting against the Central Processing Unit, I often ran into trouble because of Central Processing Unit Ken, and this was exactly the reason. This was the first reason why the Central Processing Unit was so strong. When moving on to Super Street Fighter Turbo, the Central Processing Unit starts acting. Even though Guile's performance became much weaker in Super Street Fighter, when it comes to the Central Processing Unit, I honestly think he's almost at the level of Okiyum. Guile's critical weakness is that he has to charge the directional key for a certain number of frames to use any of his moves. For Guile, both Sonic Boom and Somersault require at least 60 frames of charge to use in Super Street Fighter II Turbos. However, the Central Processing Unit tries to trick the player by pretending to charge, briefly crouching or moving backward. As soon as I jump, it acts like it's charging by pretending to crouch. There's absolutely no way it could actually charge for 60 frames during that time. Guile's Crouching Light Punch takes a total of 5 frames, so to charge for 60 frames you'd need enough time to use Crouching Light Punch 12 times. I tested this myself to see if it works. Even by the in-game timer, it takes about 2 seconds to use it 12 times, but since I couldn't press the 5-frame move exactly on time every time, I showed that it roughly takes about 60 frames. This time, I'll test if you can use Somersault as soon as the opponent starts jumping. As soon as DJ jumps, I start charging right away. I tried to use it before the opponent landed, but it absolutely doesn't activate. At the very least, you have to charge a little bit before the opponent jumps. That's when the 60 frames required to use Somersault are completed. Can you just use Somersault even when the player is still high in the air? Because Guile showed his crouching motion, the player mistakenly thinks that the Central Processing Unit Guile has charged for 60 frames. Should the strongest anti-air move in Street Fighter history really be this easy to use? Even players who are falling backward get killed by this crazy hitbox. If you watch this at normal speed, you really can't help but be fooled. Since the game tempo is so fast, people think they've charged, but it's a mistake. At least Guile pretends to be charging, but DJ doesn't even bother to act. What's even crazier is that Guile needs to charge for 60 frames, but DJ has to charge for a slightly slower 61 frames. He doesn't even show a walking back animation, just spams his moves without any conscience. Even though his special moves require a 60-frame charge, he's a shameless character who uses them while walking forward. If players fought like this, even Guile wouldn't have stood a chance and would just get hit. This was the second reason why the central processing unit is so strong. The next reason is the central processing unit's incredible button mashing speed. When the central processing unit uses a character with a rapid grab move, you'll experience hell. If you get caught by the central processing unit's rapid grab, you'll lose more than half your health. I think this is what you'd call a real cheat. Even if you try to escape with your own hands, you can't beat the central processing unit's button mashing. If you're unlucky, the game could be over in just 2 grabs. The same goes for that annoying Blanca. The thing that makes me the angriest is the mix-up. The CPU's rapid grab button mashing drains over half your health and sets up special moves, leaving you nearly defenseless. It seems programmed to always use these setups. But the real boss that completely surpasses even Guile is Guile. Did you get caught by the rapid grab even once? Sometimes you might have to give up the whole round in one go. If you're really unlucky, no matter how hard you struggle to escape, you just can't get out. It's a ruthless AI that even puts you in impossible situations. Additionally, its stun recovery is practically on Guile's level. Guile has the trait of recovering from stun almost instantly, so even if you manage to stun Guile, it doesn't really mean anything. Guile may not match Guile's speed, but he still recovers very quickly. With his insane rapid button presses, he basically recovers from stun the moment he gets up. If you manage to stun Central Processing Unit Guile, you have no choice but to go for a meaty attack. The Central Processing Unit also sometimes cheats with the frames of its moves and normals. In Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, if a 1-frame attack comes out, there's a 50% chance it becomes unblockable, even if you're ready to guard like this. When Blanca's move activates in 1 frame, you get hit unexpectedly. This doesn't just apply to Blanca. Central Processing Unit cheats like this with every character. The player may think they failed to guard, but in reality, they've been cheated. Actually, before moving on to Super, whether the Central Processing Unit cheated or not, you could still feel that playing against the computer was pretty doable. As you reach the later stages, the AI's level goes up insanely, and even its defense and attack power become ridiculous. However, most players probably felt that their own skills were lacking because of the balance I just mentioned, but in reality, as I showed in this video, it's just absurd. Winning was harder due to the Central Processing Unit's unfairness. Isn't there a reason why our predecessors kept using vertical jump strong kicks in the corner against the Central Processing Unit in chess apps? That's all. This has been Dory. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe, like, and leave a comment.